Hello, my name is Sophie and welcome back to my channel. So I filmed a video for my TikTok maybe a week or so, an amount of time ago, where I went through all of my reading challenges in my reading journal, and I talked about where my gaps were and what I needed to read by the end of the year to complete all of my reading challenges. And I thought I could do a longer version on here where we think of maybe some books that could actually fill those gaps and or the gaps in my library and any suggestions you may have to fill those gaps. I think something I kind of glossed over in the TikTok video is that most of the challenges I have in my journal I call kind of passive challenges, where I have them, I'm not bending over backwards to try and complete these challenges. I do kind of want to see how much I can achieve without really trying, but simultaneously, if in my alphabet challenge I've only got one letter of the alphabet left, I'll find something that fits that. So it's not like I'm going to be disappointed if I don't finish all these challenges, but it's fun. That's the whole point. That's why I put challenges in this journal anyway. I've also got a challenge on Storygraph that someone else set up that I am passively trying to do, and I think there's 52 prompts on that, so I thought we could have a look at that as well. So let's jump right in with the journal. I don't have any fancy overhead setup. I'm literally just going to hold up my journal. So I think the first thing we come up to, or the first kind of challenge we come up to in my journal, is my 2025 reading goal, which is just here, 60 books. I'm currently at 40 books, and obviously I need to read 20 more books to complete that challenge. I'm not actually concerned about that at all, considering we're only just over halfway through the year and I'm at 2/3 of the way towards my goal. So yeah, fine, we'll gloss over that one. Then more excitingly, we have my 25 books to read in 2025. So out of these 25 books, I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them, and I've DNF'd one of them. So that's 12, which means I've got 13 left to read. Those books are generally the ones that are on the top of my cart over here. The books that I have left to read are The Boy at the Top of the Mountain by John Boyne, By the Book by Jasmine Guillory, Five Survive by Holly Jackson. Then on my list I have Shatter Me by Tahiri Mafi, which I'm currently reading, so that's on my bedside table. Every Colour Review by Amelia Mandeville, which is also on my summer TBR pile, which is what this is. Then we have Only You Can Save Mankind by Terry Pratchett, which is downstairs because the audiobook is available at my library and I just got my hold in. Then we have Jacoby's Game by Alison Prince, Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, Scattered Showers by Rainbow Rowell, The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon, The Dragon's Eye by Dougald A. Steer, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, The Cornish Village School Second Chances by Kitty Wilson, which is the second book in a series, and I don't own book one, and I'm going to evaluate. I think I'm going to buy book one when this book comes out of my TBR jar. But yeah, so that's the 13 books I have left to read. 2 of them are somewhat in progress, and all round I'm pretty pleased with that. Again, I think I'm just short of being halfway through the challenge, so considering we're again just over halfway through the year, I'm pretty pleased with that. So yeah, that's the first challenge. That is less of a passive challenge. That's what I am actively trying to complete. Then we move on. On the next page, we have my alphabet challenges, because who needs one alphabet challenge when you could have 2? So this year I decided I'm doing an alphabet challenge by the title of books, but also by author's surname, because I thought it would be interesting. And actually, as someone who is kind of a data nerd, it is interesting to see which letters are what I would call difficult letters in the title alphabet and how that differs in the author name alphabet. So in the book title alphabet, I've done 16 out of 26 letters, and the 10 letters I haven't read a book starting with that letter yet are B, J, M, Q, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now, do I even have... Oh, I have The Boy at the Top of the Mountain, and we don't count those, so that would be B from my 25 and 2025. Oh, and By the Book. Jacoby's Game for J is in my 25 and 2025. S, we've got the X talk. Might count that for X, even though it starts with E. None of the other letters from my 25 and 2025 are relevant. Do I even own books? Yeah, I must own books that start with M. That's the thing. You'd think M would be a relatively common letter, but not as common as you think. I do have, conveniently to hand, the novella in the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series is called Queen Bee, so that would tick off Q quite quickly. I'm currently reading the second book in that series and very much enjoying it, but that is The Shadow Cabinet, and I've already read an S. 16 out of 26 on the letters. This is the kind of challenge that I'm doing more passively, but we'll see where we are by the end of the year. And then the author letters, I have exactly the same. I've read authors starting with 16 letters of the alphabet. Almost all of the vowels are still to be read. I've not read a book from an author whose surname starts with A, E, I, L, which you'd think would be relatively common, N, Q, fine, U, V, X, and Z. So I've already had a W and a Y. It's not that interesting. Objectively, I understand it's not that interesting. But as someone who is a data nerd, I find this fascinating. I mean, I organise my bookshelves by author's surname, so I know that I've got A's. I can see them from here. E, F. Yeah, I've got E's. I. Do I have I's? Oh, I've only got 2 I's. L. Yeah, I've definitely got L's. Not as many as you'd think, though. N is up on this side. Do we have any N's? We have a lot of M's. Loads of M's. Oh yeah, Garth Nix and Naomi Novik. Then we get to Q. Do I have a Q? Paver, Plum, Pullman. I do not own any books by an author whose surname starts with Q, so if you have any recommendations for that. I feel like Quentin, or I don't know, I feel like there are Q surnames out there. There has to be. Anyway, that's the first one that I can't see that I own a book written by an author with a surname that starts with Q. Then U, V, X, and Z. Those are the ones. Yeah. S, T, T. No, I don't have a U or a V. I've got W. I don't have any U, V, X, and Z either. So I clearly, out of the books I am going to allow myself to buy in the latter half of this year, these are the author surnames I need to prioritise. And then I think the last challenge actually in my journal is my bucket list challenge, which I really don't like the name. I don't like calling things bucket lists because I associate it too much with death. I don't know what else to call it, so that is what I called it. This is another thing that I'm just doing passively, mostly because I thought it would look pretty. So I've coloured in all the ones I have done, but I also have these little post-it notes because I think what I will do is probably print out the covers of the relevant book that checked off the challenge. So the ones I have left, I have borrowed from the library. I have borrowed a book from the library, but the book I borrowed, I only borrow audiobooks from my library because all of these books behind me are my physical TBR, so I don't need to be borrowing physical books. But I do like trying to get through my physical TBR with audiobooks, so the ones that are available at my library, I try and listen to it through that. I have listened to one audiobook from my library this year. The stars have aligned on only one occasion, but I used that book for a different prompt, and I'm not doubling up. I'm going to borrow more books before the end of the year, so I'm not worried about that one. I have 2 books. 2 of my holds have come in recently, so I'm not worried about that. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more gaps. The first of which is He's a Golden Retriever. I probably have read romance books where he's a golden retriever, but I feel like I want it to be really definitive. And then the other categories are a sci-fi book. Maybe I haven't read a sci-fi book this year. I feel like the line between sci-fi and fantasy can get really blurry sometimes. And as someone who does read and enjoy a lot of fantasy, I don't know if the line has been definitive enough for me to class a book as a sci-fi book. But I'm sure I can find at least one sci-fi book before the end of the year. Then we have a book with yellow on the cover. Again, it's a case of it being yellow enough for me to feel like it counts for the challenge, but we'll see whether that happens. A non-fiction book. I have read a couple of non-fiction books, but I didn't like them that much, so I want to be able to use a non-fiction book that I actually enjoyed. So I need to actually make an effort to read some non-fiction to be able to achieve that one. And then the last one is Lucas picks, Lucas being my husband, and I've just filmed a TikTok where I let him pick a book for my August TBR. It's almost exclusively so I can fulfill this challenge. So he picked a book for me to read, and when I finish that, I will definitely put it in that category, because even if it fills one of the other categories, which I don't think it does, I don't want to go through. Not that I don't want him to pick another book for my TBR, but I have enough books to read without having to add Lucas picks one every single month. That's where we are with the bucket list. Then I have my series tracker, which isn't really much of a challenge because there's absolutely no way I would get through all of those series this year. But those, I think, are all the challenges that are in my journal. Let's go on to Storygraph. What I do love about Storygraph is that you can make your own challenges. So I've got my own challenge for my 25 and 2025, and that just makes it really easy to see the percentage of my completion for it, because I can just add the 25 books that are from my challenge. Here is my Storygraph. Like I say, we've got my 2025 reading goal. I'm on 40 of 60 books, and Storygraph tells me I'm ahead by 7 books, which is great for my self-esteem. Then we go, I'll scroll past the one we're actually going to look at, but then I have my 25 and 2025 here, and I'm 48% of the way through it because I've read 12 out of 25 books. And then I've also got my 2024 one here. What I wanted to show you on Storygraph is the Beat the Backlist challenge, which I am, again, passively partaking in. It's created by Austin E. Decker. I have no idea. I don't actually know who this person is. I just saw someone else on a blog talking about this, and I was like, another challenge. I can do that. And it's got some fun prompts. So I thought I would do that. I'm 37% done with this challenge. I've fulfilled 19 of 52 prompts, which for something I'm doing. Sorry? Okay, I catch the Pokemon. When your husband has to tell you about cool Pokemon that he finds outside, which will be in the screen recording. Anyway, we weren't here for Pokemon Go. Anyway, back to the Beat the Backlist challenge. The whole point is to, I suppose, have a fun way of reading more of the books on your backlist. The about here has more information if you want to read it. I'll link to the challenge in the description if you want to join or find out more. I didn't join this until a couple of months into the year. Like I say, I'm doing it passively. It's not going to be the end of the world if I don't complete it. Yeah, and it's intended for books that have already been published at the start of the new year. For me, I'm kind of adding the extra caveat in that I want it to be books I bought before this year. So, for example, I'm currently reading The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson, which was released either last year or the year before, but I only bought it this year. So it does fulfill one of the prompts, and I'm in two minds about it, but I don't think I'm going to use it because I bought it this year. So yeah, these are the challenge prompts, and we'll go through the ones I haven't done. So the first bonus one is just a backlist book, so any book that was published, and in my case bought, before 2025. Then we have a bargain poorly made, protagonist enters a bad bargain. Now, when I've added a book, what I did is essentially I just sat down and went through, because if you click on here, you can see all the books that other people have added. So I just went through and I picked a book that I owned from this list. My SD card just filled up, so we might be at a slightly different angle, but we're back. The next prompt that I haven't fulfilled yet is A Wild Exploration, a book about exploring nature / the wild. And the book that I own that someone else already added to the prompt was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I mean, the thing with these books is that generally they're not even on my radar for the end of the year, for the rest of the year. But if I get around to reading them, fab. If I need another way of choosing what I read next that doesn't involve a decision, it doesn't involve me making a decision, this is a good way to do that. I have no intention of actively doing this challenge, but it's a nice backup. and it's nice to see how much I can do without really trying, as I've said about 3,000 times in this video. Then we get through a few that I have completed. Then we have based on or inspired by a true story, which I have chosen The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This is one that's in the wedding library, so I use a spinner to choose which book I read from the wedding library each month. So the chances of this coming up are about 1 in 20. I think that's about how many books I've got left in that library, but it might come up. Who knows? Beyond Your Perspective, a book that highlights a perspective from a group of people different to you. And the book that I've got for that is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, which is on my 25 in 2025. So I'm hoping I'm like 75% likely to actually read that by the end of the year. Next prompt is break the rules. Characters are breaking the rules. Whether or not they get in trouble is another matter. And the book listed is The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes. I would like to do a whole Hunger Games reread because I feel like I read The Hunger Games such a long time ago and I'm not very good at remembering details. So I want to have those details fresh in my mind before I go on to reading the prequels. I just haven't. With the amount of other challenges and the way that I make my TBRs, I don't have the space to read 5 books back to back. So we'll see if I get time to do that by the end of the year, but otherwise, unlikely. But, it's there. Then we have Can't Be Trusted, the narrator who can't be trusted by the reader, a character who can't be trusted by their peers. There's no real trust to be had here. And the book I've added is The Unhoneymooners by Christine Lauren. There's a book that starts with you, because we don't count the. Celebrity book club pick. I picked Slow Dance by Rainbow Route. Then we have character as an educator. Someone's about to learn something from this character, and the book I've added is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. There's a book that starts with V. We're filling in so many of these challenges overlap, and that's what I like. A book that ticks multiple boxes. I call it efficient reading, and then I remind myself that reading isn't about being efficient, it's meant to be fun. Then we have City Skyline on the cover, which I have Babel, however we're pronouncing that. Then we have a companion novel, a book connected/related to another book, but not a prequel or a sequel, and I've got Tithe by Holly Black, which I believe is in association with the Cruel Prince series. They had a box set at the works, and I think I just read the Cruel Prince series, so I picked it up. I have it, so I should read it. The next prompt, we have cover features a weapon, which I have chosen Scythe, where the cover not only features a weapon, but the title is a weapon, so can't get more weapony than that. Then we have Family Business, a story following members of a single family, and the book I have added is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I really want to read this book. I've not read a Catherine Center, but I've seen so many positive reviews, and I think The Bodyguard sounds like so much fun. So I really do hope I get to. And that's got yellow on the cover, so that would work for my bucket list challenge. It's cozy time, anything and everything with cozy vibes, and the book that I owned that was suggested is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, which I believe is a thriller book. I'm not sure how cozy that actually is, but someone else thinks it's cozy, so I'm adding it. Language has power, stories about language, words, the power of such things, you get the idea. I think Babel would have worked for this challenge as well, but we're not counting one book over multiple categories. So for this one, I chose Divine Rivals, another super popular series that I haven't got around to reading yet, though I didn't let myself buy Ruthless Vows until I've read Divine Rivals. I was a bit restrained in that respect. Less than 100 pages. I've added Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood, which doesn't work on my physical TBR because I think this was an Amazon exclusive, but it's free to read on Amazon if you're a Prime member, so I'm planning to read that one in December, just to continue ticking off the Ali Hazelwood backlog. I think I've read almost all of her books. I need to catch up on Problematic Summer Romance and this novella, but I think then I'm up to date. The next prompt is a librarian rec, and the description says get thyself to a library or other means of connecting with a librarian. And I interpreted that as assuming everyone who has added a book to this challenge got that recommendation from a librarian. Those books have been recommended by a librarian, just not specifically to me. So I went through the recommended books and I picked out a couple that I own. So I've got both Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes and Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Then we scroll through a few that I have done, which is nice. I have ticked off a decent amount of these prompts. Opening line includes an animal. I think when I went to add a book to this prompt, I didn't own any of the books that were listed here. And I've been looking out for this prompt ever since, but you'll be surprised at how few books contain an animal in the first sentence. I genuinely, especially with audiobooks, I will go to the physical edition because 90% of the audiobooks I listen to, I do own physically. It's just another way for me to try and tick off my TBR. I will go back just to double check whether any animal was listed in the first sentence. Yet to find one. So we'll see whether I can by the end of the year. Originally written in another language, I've got Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Tom. No, I need to actually see that. Toshikazu Kawaguchi. There we go. This is another one that I've been really excited to read. I just haven't yet. Shared Zodiac Sign is one that I have actually done. It's another one that I was Googling every time I finished a book that was from my backlog. I would Google when it was released to see whether I shared a zodiac sign with it. And I finally found that The Glass Lake by Maeve Binchy was released in the Virgo star sign. Except I think I had to add my own version. So I need to change the settings so this counts as read, but I have done that one actually. We have Silhouette on the cover where I've chosen The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzong. Something Upside Down on the cover, we have The Song of Six Realms by Judy I. Lin. Standalone debut, Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. Sweet Treats, the story cover or title reminds you of something sweet or gives you those good feelings of a sugar high. Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola. That's Not Supposed to Talk, in which something that shouldn't be sentient is now a character in its own right. Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. This book is a hoot, whether it's simply funny or features an owl, it counts. Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton. Tiniest on your TBR, the shortest book on your to-read list. I don't actually have any data that can accurately tell me what is the shortest book on my TBR. I'm just leaving that one for the moment. Title includes a type of flower. I've got 2 books added to this one. We have A Court of Thorns and Roses and Belladonna. Title starts with a V, Verity by Colleen Hoover, though The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches could work for that if I wasn't using it for another prompt. Unusual transportation. Characters use a form of transportation that's uncommon, unusual, or doesn't exist in our world. I've added Feybound by Sarah Ella Reefy, which is on my radar to read, actually, so maybe I'll get to that one. Way back in 2020, so many books got missed that year. Let's show some love to those 2020 releases. And we've got Loveliest by Alice Oseman. I'm nearly finished reading Alice Oseman's backlog. I think I've got 2 books left. So it'd be nice to tick off another one. Weather the Storm, a story or book title related to the weather. Again, I haven't found a book that I own that relates to the weather. So we'll have to have another look at that one. Weird is the Word, interpret however you like, but make sure it's weird. We have An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I own both of the books in this series, and I love Hank Green, but I haven't read any of his books yet, so I really do want to make a start on that one. And then the last challenge is one I've already completed, Year of the Snake, book published in the Lunar Zodiac Year of the Snake, and that was Fangirl. So that's that challenge. So those are all of the reading challenges that I have in both my bullet journal and on Storycraft that I am kind of passively working towards this year. If you have any recommendations for any of the categories or prompts or letters that I mentioned that I haven't filled yet, please do let me know, particularly for the authors, because I now know that I'm going to have to buy books by authors with those letters to be able to fulfill that challenge. So would greatly appreciate some recommendations in that regard. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're reading a great book, and I'll see you next time for another bookish video, which will be my August TBR. Bye!